I pull a big page from educator Reed Mihalko. He's pretty well known in these communities. He's actually in San Francisco right now. He was doing a talk last night.
Right.
And one of his mottos and rallying cries is date your species. So when you get into this realm of shoulds, my suggestion is find people that communicate like you do. If you want a partner that communicates their jealousies, that's what you should be seeking. And I don't mean that you need to be identical, that the two partners need to match on this. I don't mean that. I mean that what you want in a partner and what your partner is, you should try to align that as soon as you can. So rather than worrying about whether you should or shouldn't, it's more like, what do you want to do personally? What works for you? And finding a partner that works for them. And I was really bad at this years ago. What I just said is from years of trial and error, lots of error. and over the last 3 or 4 years is when I've really started to live by that motto of elimination. You know, if I meet someone who's attractive and I'm bonding with, I want to figure out our incompatibilities as soon as possible. And then those incompatibilities limits us in a way that benefits my other relationships and my styles, because I'm not going to get deeply involved with people that are incompatible with me. Maybe we'll have a surface level casual relationship or some depth, but I'll know that there's an incompatibility that prevents us from going too deep. And the longer we've done these events together, the more compatible we find out we are. We try not to exploit the incompatibilities. They're there. There's a few. But that's where we tiptoe, and the rest of it we focus on. We talk about our jealousies often. So I can't say what you should or shouldn't do, but we certainly do it. And it works for you. Well, you know, communication. That's the typical mantra of polyamory and open relationships, and we communicate about our jealousies.
Well, not only do we talk about the jealousies that have occurred, but we talk about jealousies that could occur should something in the future happen, because there are so many possibilities, especially when you're combining BDSM and polyamory. So many possibilities of things that could happen, and so it's so much easier to talk about what could happen in the future and talk about how we might feel about something that could happen in the future, because there is a high probability that something like that will happen. And if we've already talked about it, then that already will sort of help with whatever emotions that we end up feeling when that does happen. We can think about, oh yes, we did have this conversation. Hey, remember when we talked about, you know, this thing that could have happened? Well, it's happening now, and okay, so we're going to continue that talk about it, because we already talked for 4 hours about it, 6 months ago. Now we only need to, brush up on it and talk about it for 45 minutes to an hour.
Talk about a little bit about the idea of my BDSM energy.
Okay, so there was one time where Rye started dating a girl, and it was a casual relationship. It wasn't very serious. However, she was a very heavy bottom, and she took up. I'm gonna say this a different way. He gave her most of his energy when it came to BDSM, and after a certain time, I realized, wow, that hasn't happened in a while, and I know that it's happening a lot with this new girl.
Can I clarify for a moment?
Yes.
That we don't practice 24/7, and we do, and then we don't. We turn it off and we turn it on. And oftentimes when we have sex, it's totally vanilla, or it's just rough sex, and there's really no fetish BDSM component. So during this era where she's talking about me giving up most of my energy is because most of our sex was in the vanilla category. It was hot and it was passionate and there were orgasms, but it was lacking that component for a couple months. Whereas there's pictures popping up on Facebook with me and the other girl at fetish events doing our thing. And she's posting them or I'm posting them, and so there's this visible proof, and we're talking about it as well. And I'm buying new toys because I've run out of weapons that'll handle the job.
So that was a time that I felt neglected when it came to the BDSM aspect of our relationship, and that was it was one of the first times where I had to broach a subject, like, you know, to let him know that I was feeling something negative, and I was feeling neglected in something. And so it was a very interesting time for me to sit down and say, hey, I need to talk about this. I've noticed that this is happening, or this is not happening so much with me, and it's not something that I'm very happy with. And, you know, he was very receptive to that, and he understood exactly where I was coming from, and he made great efforts to rectify that.
I largely define dominant and sub as leader and follower, planner and part of the plan. And I see a lot of our relationship as the date planner. You know, our vanilla side is often me with the plan and her saying, yes, that's a great plan. Or no, I don't like part of that plan. But typically, I'm making the plan. And from that experience that you described of me neglecting the plan, basically planning dates that you need, this craving that you need, I was neglecting the plan for that. And so when I chose to focus on it, now I could say, okay, I got to keep this in mind, I got to keep the plan. I'm still the dominant. I'm still the one making the majority of the decisions of what we're going to do, but recognizing that the sub has these cravings and needs. And as part of our DS relationship, it's important for me to keep her needs met. And as part of our polyamorous relationship, we have to keep each other's needs met. Neglect is the ultimate killer of any kind of relationship. Doesn't matter what it is, monogamous, vanilla, BDSM, polyamory.
It's also complacency.
Go ahead.
Well, it's his strong belief that a couple can be much happier and have much more quality time if you continue to date. Years into the relationship, if you plan your dates and go on dates and really romanticize each other. I've seen how the opposite can happen, where after a couple years, it's like, okay, I'm coming over, we're gonna get in our PJs and watch TV, which is fine to do once in a while. I like to do that. But if you're doing that, you know, every day, it gets to be the same thing over and over, nothing exciting. We have so much excitement in our lives, it's not even funny. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen most of the time when we are going out on dates, and that's how it is, like, almost every time we go out. And I do believe that is a huge reason why we are still together. It's because it's so exciting for us to go out and just explore and have adventures. Love and adventure is my little motto.
I think we really have the deck stacked in our favor because we don't live together, we don't intend to get married, we don't intend to have children, and this goes with any partner, not just each other. And so we have to plan when we meet up because we're not going to the same physical address every night. And when we plan to meet up, we make a decision of, are we going to go out or stay in? What are we going to do? There's some sense of this is a date. Every time we get together is a date. And I think that is a little trickier when you literally live together. You know, you have to remember to have date night because it's not inherent in the situation. So it's a little bit to our advantage that we're so stubborn and independent.